Have you ever wondered why some people, no matter what they do, always seem to get richer? They don't have better jobs than you, they're not necessarily smarter than you, and they certainly don't work harder than you, but somehow they end up with more. They seem to get ahead while others just seem to struggle no matter how much effort they put in. It's a question I've asked myself countless times, and it's one I know many of you are asking as well. The answer is simpler than most people would believe. You see, building wealth isn't about luck. It's not about timing. It's not about getting the big break or winning the lottery. No, it's about consistent, disciplined actions, small, seemingly insignificant habits that, when compounded over time, lead to extraordinary wealth. It's about the daily decisions that, when practiced with intention and patience, quietly build the kind of financial success most people only dream of. And let me give you an analogy to help make sense of this. Imagine you're planting a garden. You've got your seeds, your soil, your tools, but not all seeds are the same. Some grow wild, chaotic, and unproductive. Others grow carefully, consistently, and yield great fruit. The difference? It's not the soil, it's not the seeds themselves. The difference is the care. It's the gardener who tends to the plants every day, who nurtures them with water, with attention, with thoughtfulness. And this, my friends, is exactly what wealth building is like. You don't need to be born into riches. You don't need to wait for the perfect opportunity. You just need to practice the right habits every day, even if they don't seem dramatic at first. The beauty of this is that these habits aren't reserved for a select few. They are available to anyone who's willing to make the decision to start. The problem is that most people get caught up in the idea that wealth is this unattainable thing, something that only happens to the lucky or the highly privileged. But what I'll share with you today isn't about luck. It isn't about waiting for your ship to come in or wishing for a better economy. It's about adopting habits that most millionaires practice quietly every single day. These habits are not grandiose or complicated. They're simple, but incredibly powerful. And anyone, no matter where you are in life, can begin practicing them right now. Today, I'm going to share with you 7 money habits that are quietly making people millionaires. These habits don't demand massive changes overnight. They don't require you to quit your job or take on high-risk investments. These are habits that can be implemented in small ways every single day. And when they compound over time, they create the kind of financial success that most people only dream of. So, if you're ready to learn how to quietly build wealth, one small habit at a time, let's dive in. The first habit of millionaires that sets them apart from everyone else is incredibly simple, but it's the foundation of everything else. Millionaires always pay themselves first. It's the first thing they do when they get paid, before they pay their bills, before they buy anything, before they even think about their expenses. They automatically take a portion of their income and save it or invest it. And they do this without fail, without exception. Now, I know you've heard the phrase pay yourself first 100 times, but most people still don't do it. Why? Because they think it doesn't matter, or they think there's no money left after they've paid everything else. But the truth is, the key to wealth isn't how much you make, it's how much you keep. Let me use a simple metaphor to explain this. Imagine a bucket that's filling up with water. The first thing you do when you get the water is to place your bucket directly under the faucet, right? You don't wait until the bucket is half full and then decide where to put it. You put it under the faucet first, before any water spills out. If you wait until the water has already started spilling over, the bucket is already half empty. It's the same with your money. If you wait until after you've paid all your bills, after you've spent on things you don't really need, after you've treated yourself, there will always be nothing left to save. The money will leak away, just like water spilling over the sides of the bucket. Paying yourself first means taking care of yourself first. It's the money you put aside for your future before anything else. It's your savings, your investments, your retirement fund, whatever you choose to do with it. And it's the first thing you do before your bills, before your lifestyle. This simple habit is the foundation for all long-term wealth. But here's where most people fall short. They can't make saving a priority because they don't live with intention. They let the noise of life dictate their financial decisions, and by the time they pay for everything else, there's nothing left. But the millionaires I've known, they don't leave their future up to chance. They're intentional. They've learned that paying themselves first is not just smart, it's necessary. It's the habit that sets everything else into motion. And it's within your power to start today. Pay yourself first, and you'll be amazed at how quickly your financial foundation starts to grow. Now that we've covered the importance of paying yourself first, let's move to the next habit that quietly separates millionaires from the rest of the world: living below your means. This, my friends, is where the real difference begins to show. It's easy to believe that building wealth is all about earning more money. After all, that's what most people chase. The bigger paycheck, the better job, the higher salary. But the harsh reality is this: earning more doesn't make you wealthy. Learning to live on less does. Living below your means is the critical habit that prevents you from spending yourself into debt and ensures that your savings grow steadily, no matter how much or how little you earn. It doesn't matter how much money you make if you don't control how much you spend. If you spend everything you earn, you'll always be stuck. The truth is, most people live paycheck to paycheck because they're not disciplined enough to live below their means. They think that more income equals more freedom, but what they don't realize is that it just leads to more spending, more debt, and more financial pressure. Let me use a metaphor to make this clearer. Imagine you're trying to fill a bucket with water. You've got the bucket, the water, the source, everything. But imagine the bucket has holes in the bottom. No matter how much water you pour in, the bucket is always leaking. You keep earning more, but the money just leaks away because of overspending. Now, what do? You patch the holes, you stop the leaks. The same applies to your finances. You can earn all the money you want, but if you don't patch the holes in your spending habits, your wealth will never accumulate. The money will always slip through your fingers, no matter how much you earn. Living below your means doesn't mean you have to live in deprivation. It doesn't mean that you have to avoid the things you enjoy. It simply means you're intentional with your spending. You make choices. You decide what truly matters and what doesn't. It means saying no to the things that, while tempting in the moment, don't align with your long-term financial goals. It means delaying gratification in the short term so you can experience true freedom in the long term. But here's where the habit of living below your means really shines. It frees up the money you need to invest in your future. When you're not blowing all your money on immediate wants and desires, you create space for real, lasting wealth building. You can invest in assets that will pay you back over time. You can invest in your education, your business, your relationships, and most importantly, you can invest in yourself. Living below your means also gives you something priceless: freedom. It gives you the freedom to make choices based on what matters to you, not on what your lifestyle demands. It allows you to weather financial storms without feeling desperate. It means that even in tough times, you can remain calm, focused, and in control because your spending is under control. So how do you do this? It's not about drastic sacrifices. It's about small, smart choices every day that build up over time. Maybe it's cutting out the impulse buys you don't really need, or resisting the urge to upgrade to the latest gadget just because it's the thing to do. Maybe it's living in a home you can comfortably afford, rather than one that stretches your budget to its limits. It's learning to appreciate what you have instead of constantly chasing the next thing. Millionaires don't live to impress others. They live for their own financial security and long-term freedom. They don't need to buy the latest fashion or the flashiest car to prove their success. They've already built their success quietly, step by step, by making decisions that create financial freedom. And as you adopt this habit of living below your means, you'll find that the small, disciplined choices you make today will give you a life of freedom tomorrow. Now, there's a third habit that goes hand in hand with this one, and it's something that millionaires understand intimately: the importance of investing wisely. Let's dive into that next. Now we come to the third habit, the one that really accelerates wealth building, the one that differentiates the self-made millionaires from those who are simply getting by. Invest wisely. Millionaires aren't just saving their money, they're putting it to work. They understand that in order for their wealth to grow, their money needs to work harder than they ever could on their own. But here's the key: they don't just throw their money at any opportunity that comes their way. No, millionaires practice patience, discipline, and intelligence when it comes to investing. They make decisions based on logic, research, and long-term strategy rather than impulse, emotion, or fear. And this habit of wise investing is one of the primary reasons they continue to build wealth, even when they aren't actively working for it. Let's take a moment to reflect on the difference between saving and investing. Saving is important, and it's the first step to building wealth, but it's just the beginning. Saving without investing is like filling up a bucket and setting it on the ground. It's just sitting there. The water doesn't move. It doesn't go anywhere. But investing is different. It's about taking that water and letting it flow, letting it find new paths, letting it grow. It's about creating something that doesn't just sit there, but multiplies, creating more of what you need. And that's what investments do. They multiply your money, whether you're buying stocks, real estate, or even investing in yourself through education or skills. Millionaires understand that true wealth doesn't come from just saving money in a bank account and watching it sit there. That money, sitting stagnant in the bank, loses its value over time due to inflation. What millionaires do differently is they make their money work. And they do so in ways that provide long-term sustainable returns. They invest in assets that grow in value: stocks, real estate, businesses, and sometimes even in things like peer-to-peer lending or entrepreneurial ventures. They know that if they're going to build a legacy, they need to invest in things that will generate income for years to come. I'll tell you right now, if you want to build wealth, you can't just save money. You need to take your money and invest it in opportunities that will grow over time. But the key to this habit is not simply throwing your money at anything that looks good, because not every investment is created equal. Wise investors, the millionaires, are careful with their decisions. They don't jump into the first hot stock tip they hear. or make a real estate investment without doing thorough research. They know that every investment carries risk, and they embrace it, but they do so with wisdom. They spread their investments across different assets to reduce risk and ensure that they have multiple streams of income flowing into their lives. The best part about investing wisely is that it works for you, even when you're not working. When you make an investment in real estate, for instance, that property continues to generate rental income for you while you sleep. When you invest in a dividend-paying stock, it earns money for you, whether or not you check the market every day. The more you invest wisely, the more streams of income you have. You'll soon find that you don't have to rely solely on your job to build wealth. You have multiple sources of income working on your behalf, and each one grows over time. That's the beauty of smart investing. It compounds your wealth. But here's where most people fall short. They think of investing as a one-time decision, a grand gesture that will change their financial future overnight. They think that if they don't strike it rich with one big move, they've failed. But that's not how millionaires invest. Millionaires invest patiently, consistently, and over time. They understand that wealth isn't built through one dramatic action. It's built through small, deliberate, intelligent moves made every single day. They don't try to time the market. They don't try to make a quick buck. They make investments that will grow and provide returns for years, and they let their wealth compound. The next time you think about investing, remember that it's not about chasing trends or hoping for a quick win. It's about planting seeds that will bear fruit long after you've made the investment. Your money will work harder than you ever could. The more you invest wisely, the more your wealth will grow. It's about building something that lasts, not just for you, but for future generations. Now, there's another important habit that supports the investment mindset. Millionaires understand that in order to succeed, they must continue growing personally. This brings us to the next habit: continuous learning and self-improvement. Let's talk about that. Now that we've covered the critical habit of investing wisely, let's move to the next habit, the one that builds the very foundation for long-term success in wealth building: continuous learning and self-improvement. Millionaires, above all else, are relentless in their commitment to personal development. They understand that their most valuable asset is not their home, their car, or even their investments. It's themselves. It's their ability to grow, adapt, and learn. They invest in their minds just as they invest their money, knowing that the more they learn, the more they earn. They understand that in order to achieve more, they must first become more. It's the cornerstone of their wealth-building philosophy. The more capable, skilled, and knowledgeable you become, the more opportunities you'll have and the more wealth you can create. When I first started in business, I was full of ambition, but lacking in the most important resource of all: knowledge. I remember vividly the day my mentor handed me a book and said, "This will change your life if you let it. Success is not just about working hard, it's about working smart." And I thought to myself, I'm already working hard, isn't that enough? But it wasn't enough. What I needed was a new mindset, a mindset that valued education, growth, and self-improvement above all else. The wealthy don't sit back and rely on their current knowledge. They don't think they've arrived once they hit a certain level of success. Instead, they push themselves to learn more, to improve more, to grow beyond their current capacity, because they know that the moment you stop growing, you start decaying. In the pursuit of wealth, growth isn't just important, it's non-negotiable. Now, let me explain why this is so powerful. Imagine for a moment that your mind is like a garden. If you don't plant seeds of knowledge regularly, weeds of ignorance will inevitably take over. If you're not planting new ideas, perspectives, and strategies into your mind, you'll fall prey to the limits of your current thinking. You'll continue to make the same mistakes, repeat the same errors in judgment, and stay stuck in the same place. The weeds of old habits, outdated thinking, and unchallenged beliefs will hold you back from the life you truly want to live. But when you commit to lifelong learning, you begin planting seeds that grow into valuable assets of wisdom, creativity, and innovation. These seeds of knowledge will bear fruit in the form of new ideas, new opportunities, and new pathways to success. Millionaires understand that the process of continuous learning is never finished. They're constantly reading, attending seminars, listening to podcasts, and learning from others who have achieved the success they desire. And this habit of self-improvement isn't just about accumulating facts or memorizing information. It's about developing a deeper understanding of how to solve problems, how to make better decisions, and how to continually adapt to the ever-changing world around you. Wealth is not a destination. It's a journey that requires constant adaptation. And in order to stay on that path, you need to constantly sharpen your skills and expand your knowledge. For millionaires, learning doesn't stop at formal education. In fact, many of the wealthiest people in the world didn't finish college, yet they are lifelong learners. What makes them successful is not the degree they have, but the habit of continual self-education. They seek out books, they surround themselves with mentors, and they challenge themselves to think in new ways. Learning is the bridge that connects their current knowledge to the next level of success. Every new concept they master, every skill they develop, brings them closer to their financial goals and personal dreams. And here's the beautiful part. Learning isn't just an intellectual exercise, it's a practical one. The more you learn, the more tools you have in your toolkit to tackle the challenges of life and business. Knowledge isn't just power, it's practical power. It gives you the ability to make informed decisions, to spot opportunities others miss, and to solve problems that stop others in their tracks. Millionaires know that every new skill they acquire opens up new doors, and each new piece of knowledge they gain makes them more valuable in the marketplace. But let me tell you this, the key to learning is not just about accumulating information, it's about applying it. The wealthy don't just read for entertainment. They read with purpose. They listen with the intent to implement. They absorb knowledge not to impress others, but to make smarter, more profitable decisions. They understand that knowledge is only powerful when it's put to use. You can read every book in the world, but unless you take action on what you've learned, that knowledge will sit dormant, just like seeds left in a drawer. And that's why millionaires are always pushing themselves to learn more, to grow more, to expand their understanding of the world. They know that their financial future depends not on what they know today, but on what they're willing to learn and apply tomorrow. The journey of wealth is the journey of personal growth, and the more you commit to learning, the more you'll begin to see that wealth is not just about having money. It's about becoming the kind of person who can handle the responsibilities, the challenges, and the opportunities that come with it. And this leads us to the next habit, the one that takes learning to the next level, the habit that connects patience with long-term wealth building. This is where the process of wealth truly begins to compound. If there's one habit that differentiates those who achieve lasting wealth from those who burn out or remain stuck, it's patience. Millionaires understand something that most people overlook in their desperate pursuit of success. Wealth takes time. They don't expect instant results, nor do they make financial decisions based on short-term impulses. They know that the process of building lasting wealth is a marathon, not a sprint, and that true financial freedom comes from small, steady actions compounded over time. The principle of patience, when fully embraced, becomes the most powerful tool in your wealth-building toolkit. It's not about the rush, it's about the quiet, consistent accumulation of assets, knowledge, and habits that grow more valuable with each passing year. Imagine planting a tree. You don't plant a seed today and have a full-grown, fruit-bearing tree tomorrow. The tree starts as a tiny sapling, and for a long time, it may not seem like it's growing at all. You water it, you nurture it, but it seems like it's barely moving. But here's the secret that millionaires understand. Just because you can't see the growth doesn't mean it's not happening. Over time, that tree's roots are digging deep into the ground. Its trunk is growing sturdier, and its branches are reaching toward the sky. Eventually, the growth becomes undeniable. The tree begins to bear fruit, and the rewards start to flow in. But none of that would happen if you didn't have the patience to tend to it, to wait for it to grow, and to trust the process. In the same way, wealth building doesn't happen overnight. It's a process that takes years, even decades, of disciplined saving, investing, and learning. Millionaires understand that there are no shortcuts, no get-rich-quick schemes, no magical windfalls. They don't jump from one flashy opportunity to the next, hoping that each new venture will bring them instant riches. Instead, they focus on building a solid foundation, and they're willing to be patient as they let their investments grow over time. Whether it's real estate, stocks, or starting a business, they know that true wealth is built through consistent, incremental progress. The problem for many people, though, is that they want everything now. They're constantly chasing the next big thing, the latest trend, the quickest way to get rich. And in doing so, they miss the most important truth of wealth building. Patience pays off. It's the habits you practice every day, year after year, that will bring you lasting success. But it requires the discipline to wait, to let your money grow in the right way, and to trust that the process is working even when you can't see immediate results. Wealth doesn't come from short-term thinking. Instant gratification, the desire for quick rewards, immediate pleasure, is one of the greatest thieves of long-term success. When you constantly seek to gratify yourself in the moment, you rob your future self of the wealth that could be yours. You eat up your seed before it has a chance to grow. Millionaires, on the other hand, are willing to forgo short-term pleasure for long-term gain. They understand that sacrifices made today, whether it's forgoing that expensive vacation or resisting the urge to upgrade to the latest gadget, will pay off in the future when their investments have matured, when their business has grown, when their wealth has compounded. Let me be clear. Patience doesn't mean inaction. It doesn't mean you sit back and wait for things to happen on their own. It means you keep putting in the work, making the right decisions, and trusting that the results will come in due time. Patience in wealth building is about making consistent, smart choices and giving them time to compound. You can't expect a return on your investment if you keep pulling your money out every time the market dips, or if you keep moving your business in a new direction every time things get difficult. Success comes from sticking with it, from riding out the difficult seasons, knowing that the long-term benefits far outweigh the short-term setbacks. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make is expecting quick rewards for their hard work. They get frustrated when things don't happen as quickly as they want, and they give up before the rewards can manifest. Millionaires don't make this mistake. They know that wealth building is a long-term commitment. They know that in order to reap the rewards, they must be willing to wait, to stay the course, and to let their financial decisions compound over time. Patience also applies to the results you see in your personal life and business. It's easy to get discouraged when you don't see immediate returns on your investments, or when it feels like things are moving slowly. But remember this: every step forward is progress. The key is to keep moving forward, no matter how small the steps are. The small actions, repeated consistently over time, will eventually lead to massive results. Just as a tree doesn't grow overnight, wealth doesn't appear in an instant. But if you stay patient, stay disciplined, and keep putting in the work, you will begin to see the results you've been working for. Now, patience doesn't mean you do nothing. It doesn't mean you just sit around and wait for the universe to deliver. No, patience means that you make the right choices and then allow those choices to grow and mature. You invest in the right things, you make smart decisions, and then you give them time to develop. Over time, those investments will start to yield fruit, and the rewards will come in due time. As you embrace the power of patience, remember this: wealth is built in seasons. Sometimes you'll be in the planting season, sometimes you'll be in the growing season, and sometimes you'll be in the waiting season. Each season has its purpose, and each one builds on the other. You can't rush through the seasons. You can't skip the growing season or the waiting season. You need all of them to build something solid. Patience teaches you to trust the process, to know that your hard work will eventually bear fruit, even when it feels like nothing is happening. So take a deep breath, trust the process, and remember that slow, steady growth always wins the race. Now, even though patience is crucial, there's another key habit that sustains long-term success. And that's the habit of focusing on consistent cash flow. Let's explore that next. When we talk about building wealth, many people think only in terms of the big numbers, the millions, the properties, the high salaries. And while accumulating assets is certainly a part of wealth building, there's a crucial concept that often gets overlooked: cash flow. Cash flow is the lifeblood of financial freedom, and millionaires understand that it's not just about building wealth. It's about ensuring that wealth flows consistently and predictably, like water in a river, instead of stagnating like a pond. Cash flow allows you to live without the constant pressure of worrying about your next paycheck. It provides the freedom to make decisions based on your values, not on your immediate financial needs. It's the difference between working for money and having money work for you. Let me explain this more clearly. Imagine two people. One has a house full of expensive possessions, a luxury car, designer clothes, and the latest gadgets. The other has a few modest possessions, but a steady stream of income coming from well-chosen investments. Who is truly wealthy? If you look at their net worth, the person with the big house full of stuff may look like they're doing better. But the person with the steady stream of income, whether it's from rental properties, dividends, or a business that generates consistent revenue, has something far more valuable: financial independence. This person isn't worried about what happens if they lose their job or if their investments drop in value because they have cash flow. They know that their wealth will continue to grow regardless of market conditions because their cash flow is dependable and constant. Think of cash flow like a stream of water. As long as it keeps flowing, the land it touches remains fertile, and it can be used for all sorts of purposes, whether for drinking, irrigation, or even creating power. In the same way, when you focus on creating consistent cash flow, you have the resources to live, invest, and grow your wealth. Without cash flow, you're simply sitting on your wealth, hoping that it will continue to grow passively. It might over time, but without consistent cash flow, you don't have the liquidity to take advantage of opportunities, pay for your living expenses without stress, or reinvest in your future. The key is that cash flow keeps your financial life moving forward. It feeds your future growth, just as water feeds the plants it nourishes. Now, many people believe that accumulating wealth is simply a matter of piling up assets, stocks, real estate, businesses, and so on. While these are important, the most sustainable form of wealth comes from creating assets that generate ongoing cash flow. A rental property that brings in monthly rent, a dividend stock that pays quarterly, a business that generates revenue consistently. All of these create the cash flow that allows you to not only sustain your lifestyle, but also reinvest in growing your wealth even further. Millionaires are masters of generating cash flow. They don't simply aim for big one-time wins. They aim for steady, reliable income that compounds over time. The difference between focusing on wealth and focusing on cash flow is like the difference between hoarding water in a tank and creating a well that never runs dry. The wealthy understand that a well-thought-out, diversified portfolio of income-generating assets will provide them with far more security than any one lump sum of money ever could. Whether it's through investments, businesses, or other ventures, cash flow provides the freedom and security that building wealth alone cannot. But let me tell you where most people go wrong. They focus on the wrong kind of wealth. They look at the fancy cars, the big houses, the glamorous lifestyles, and they equate those things with financial success. But the truth is, none of that truly matters if it doesn't come with reliable, sustainable cash flow. You can have all the assets in the world, but without cash flow, you'll always be scrambling for your next paycheck, constantly trading your time and energy for money. The key to true wealth and true freedom isn't in accumulating things. It's in creating income that doesn't require your constant attention. Cash flow buys you freedom, time, and the ability to live life on your terms. The challenge, of course, is that many people have been taught to think of wealth only in terms of accumulation. Get a big house, buy an expensive car, go on luxurious vacations. They're focused on the end result, the status symbols, and they fail to understand the power of cash flow, the constant, reliable income that supports everything else. Millionaires focus on creating streams of income, not just on gathering assets. They know that cash flow gives them control. It's what keeps them from having to worry when the market dips or when things don't go according to plan. With cash flow, they can weather any storm because the money is still coming in, no matter what. Now, how do you start focusing on cash flow? It's simpler than you might think. You begin by choosing investments that pay you, whether it's through rental properties, dividends, or businesses that generate consistent revenue. And you reinvest that cash flow back into more income-producing assets. Over time, the snowball effect of cash flow is incredible. The more you invest, the more your cash flow grows, and the more financial freedom you create for yourself. You begin to shift from worrying about money to making money work for you. And eventually, you reach a point where your wealth is not just accumulating in the background. It's actively working for you, multiplying your opportunities. But while cash flow is essential, there's another habit that can accelerate this process. And that's the habit of giving back. Let's talk about the final habit, the one that ties all of these together. As we've talked about, millionaires are not just focused on accumulating wealth for the sake of having more. Their focus is on creating value, not just for themselves, but for others. And this brings us to the final habit that quietly makes people millionaires, the one that in a way completes the cycle of wealth building. This is the habit that not only sustains wealth, but deepens its meaning. It's the habit of giving back. Millionaires understand that the true measure of wealth is not in what you keep for yourself, but in what you share with others. This habit of giving, whether it's your time, your resources, or your knowledge, multiplies your wealth in ways that go beyond the financial. At first glance, it might seem counterintuitive. After all, you're building wealth, right? So why would you give any of it away? The simple answer is this: because wealth, when it is hoarded, becomes stagnant. Just like water that is trapped in a pond, when wealth is not allowed to flow, it becomes murky, it loses its value. But when wealth is given, it flows. It enriches the lives of others, creates opportunities, and nurtures the very environment that allows more wealth to come back to you. The act of giving is not just an expression of generosity. It's a powerful force that keeps wealth alive, keeps it moving, and keeps it growing. Think about it in terms of a river. A river doesn't hoard its water. It lets it flow through, enriching the land it touches, nourishing the plants, and sustaining life along its path. In the same way, when you give, whether it's sharing your wealth, your expertise, or your time, you become a channel for more good things to flow into your life. When you help others, you create an environment where more opportunities, more wealth, and more joy can enter. Giving isn't just about charity, though. It's about impact. It's about making the world a better place, using your resources to lift others up, and in turn, elevating yourself. This habit of giving doesn't just change the lives of those you help. It changes your life, too. It changes your mindset, your perspective, and your relationship with money. You stop seeing money as something you hoard or protect, and you start seeing it as a tool for growth, for connection, for creating good in the world. Giving shapes your character. It makes you more generous, more compassionate, and more aware of how your wealth is interconnected with the world around you. You realize that true wealth is not about accumulating for the sake of accumulating. It's about using your resources to create a positive impact that ripples outward, creating more wealth, more opportunity, and more fulfillment for everyone involved. But here's the best part. When you give, you also receive. And I'm not just talking about the obvious things like tax deductions or good karma, though those are certainly bonuses. No, the true reward for giving back is the transformation it creates within you. Giving brings perspective. It reminds you that your wealth, your success, your growth, all of it is a gift that flows through you. It keeps you humble, keeps you grateful, and keeps you open to receiving even more. The act of giving keeps you connected to the bigger picture, the bigger purpose. It prevents you from getting lost in the pursuit of material wealth for its own sake. And it's this sense of purpose, this sense of connection to others that will give your life a depth and richness that money alone can never provide. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. I don't have enough money to give. How can I give back when I'm still working on getting ahead? But the truth is, giving doesn't require you to be wealthy. It just requires a mindset shift. You don't have to wait until you're a millionaire to give. You don't have to wait until you have millions in the bank. You can start giving today. And I don't just mean money. I mean your time, your energy, your knowledge. You can volunteer for causes that matter to you. You can share your skills with others who need them. And you can support people who are working toward the same goals you are. The more you give, the more you'll receive. Not just in terms of financial gain, but in the form of satisfaction, joy, and the profound sense that you are part of something greater than yourself. Millionaires understand that the act of giving doesn't take away from their wealth. It multiplies it. It creates an abundance mindset. The more you give, the more you'll attract, because you start to see the world as abundant, not scarce. You begin to believe that there is enough for everyone, that the universe has plenty to offer, and that your success is tied to the success of those around you. Giving brings you into alignment with the flow of prosperity, both material and spiritual, and it amplifies your ability to generate wealth over time. The more you give, the more you'll find that opportunities come to you when you least expect them, relationships blossom, and the doors to your next chapter of success swing wide open. So how do you implement this habit in your life? Start small. Find a cause that resonates with you, whether it's helping others in your community or mentoring someone who is just starting on their path. Share your knowledge, your experience, your financial resources. Whatever you have to give, share it freely and without expectation. It's not about making grand gestures. It's about creating a consistent habit of giving that flows through your life every day, no matter how big or small. And as you give, you'll find that your life and your wealth become richer in ways you never expected. Now, let me leave you with one final thought. You don't need a magic pill to get rich. You don't need a secret strategy that's hidden from the rest of the world. You don't need a big break. What you need, what every millionaire I know has practiced, is a set of simple, actionable habits that compound over time into extraordinary wealth. It's a well-tended garden that you plant, water, and nurture every single day. You don't have to start big. You just have to start. You start by paying yourself first. You start by living below your means. You start by investing wisely. You start by making a commitment to continuous learning. You start by practicing patience, focusing on cash flow, and giving back. The key to becoming wealthy is not about wishing for wealth. It's about doing the right things every single day. The 7 habits I've shared with you today are your blueprint. They're the foundation for a life of financial freedom and fulfillment, but they won't work unless you do. So don't wait for someday. Start today. Write down the first step you'll take toward adopting these habits. Whether it's setting up an automatic savings plan, picking up a book, finding a cause to support, or simply making the decision to live below your means, take that first step right now. And once you've taken that step, I challenge you to commit to these habits every single day. Because over time, as you practice them, they will quietly, consistently, and powerfully build the wealth and the life you've always dreamed of. So, what are you waiting for? Start today. Commit to these 7 habits and watch as your life transforms. Let this be the day that you begin building the future you've always wanted. It all starts with you, and it starts now. As we close out this conversation, I want to leave you with a challenge that might sting a little, but it's necessary for your growth. I want you to take a long, hard look at where you are today and where you want to be in the future, and ask yourself this question. Am I willing to take full responsibility for the life I am building, or will I continue to blame circumstances and wait for someone else to make it happen for me? I know that's a heavy question, but it's the one question that separates those who break free from financial struggle from those who remain trapped in it. You see, there is no one coming to save you. No magical windfall, no miracle, no savior. There's no person who's going to swoop in and make all your financial problems disappear. No one will come knocking on your door and hand you the perfect opportunity. It's up to you. The reality is, no matter where you are right now, no matter how much you've struggled, no matter how old you are, no matter what mistakes you've made, it's never too late to change. And that, my friends, is the truth I had to face many years ago when I realized that if I wanted my life to be different, it wasn't about wishing for things to get better. It wasn't about hoping for a lucky break or blaming the economy or bad timing. The truth I had to accept was that everything in my life was a result of the choices I had made up to that point. And if I didn't like where I was, I had to take responsibility for it and change it. You see, responsibility is the foundation of true success. It's easy to blame the system, the government, the economy, your parents, your boss, or anyone else for your circumstances, and many people do. They sit back, waiting for their ship to come in, hoping for the world to change, wishing for things to get easier. But that's not how success works. Life isn't going to hand you what you want. You have to take responsibility for what you want and start making the changes necessary to create it. And that's exactly what millionaires understand. They've learned to take responsibility for their own financial futures, regardless of their past circumstances, regardless of their failures, and regardless of the setbacks they've faced along the way. What's beautiful about this truth is that it gives you power. When you stop blaming and start taking full responsibility for everything that happens in your life, you take control of your destiny. You stop being a victim of circumstances, and you become the architect of your future. It's a shift in mindset that will change the course of your life. But you have to be willing to face the truth that you are responsible, not just for your financial habits, but for your results, your future, and the person you are becoming. I'm not saying this to make you feel bad. I'm saying this because you have the power to change everything. And I want you to realize that regardless of where you are, it's never too late to turn things around. You can start today. It's about taking that first step, no matter how small, and then making sure you follow it up with the right actions every single day. You don't need to fix everything all at once. You just need to make the right decision today. And then tomorrow, you make the right decision again. And the day after that, you do it again. Step by step, habit by habit, you'll start to see your life change. And let me give you a little secret about success. It doesn't happen in a big, dramatic way. It happens quietly, steadily, over time. Success is a few simple disciplines practiced every day. It's the habit of paying yourself first, of living below your means, of investing wisely, of constantly learning and improving, of being patient and understanding that wealth is built slowly but surely, and it's the habit of giving back. These aren't complex, mind-blowing ideas. They're simple actions done consistently. And this is the power of personal responsibility. By taking control of your own actions, you set yourself up for success. But here's the challenge. You need to act. The habits I've shared with you today aren't just nice ideas. They're the proven, time-tested principles that have built the financial future of millionaires around the world. But none of them will do anything for you unless you put them into action. If you continue to drift along, waiting for someday, hoping for a miracle, you'll never get to where you want to go. But if you take action, if you start implementing just one of these habits today, you'll begin to see the momentum build. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. It's about committing to take responsibility for your life and building a future based on the habits that lead to wealth and freedom. No one can do this for you, but the good news is you don't have to wait for the perfect moment. Start now, start today. And in 5 years, you'll look back and be amazed at how far you've come. Let me leave you with one final thought. You're not late, but you are responsible. You're not too old. You haven't missed your chance, and it's not too late for you to build the life you've always wanted. You are responsible for your success, and that responsibility is the key to everything you desire. So take a step forward today. Commit to these 7 habits, and you'll be amazed at how quickly your life will transform. It all starts with you, and it starts now. Now, here's what I want you to do. Before you go on with your day, I want you to write down one action you're going to take today that moves you closer to wealth. One habit you're going to implement right now. It could be as simple as setting up an automatic savings plan, reading for 30 minutes, or cutting out a frivolous expense. Whatever it is, write it down and commit to it. This is your first step toward taking full responsibility for your future. And as you take this first step, know that the next step and the next one after that will be the ones that lead you to the life you've always dreamed of. Don't wait for someday. Start today.